The way we consume music has changed drastically in the past few years, so the way that you release it should change also. This video is going to show you what your release strategy should look like to really engage an audience, but also how to take advantage of every release. The way that people consume music isn't the same. People used to go into a store and physically buy an album, but that isn't the case anymore. Studies show that 55% of people listen to new music through video streaming. Another 45% listen to new music via audio streaming. These statistics show that releasing your music via these platforms are the best ways to release. It used to be the case that people would release full albums so that when people purchased them, they got their money's worth. Now that people aren't often buying a physical album, you need to focus on what people actually want. And in this day and age, people just want as much content as possible. And as much content as possible means single releases. If you're an emerging artist, your fan base won't be huge. So if you have 12 tracks that you wanted to release as an album, you'll find that you're not taking advantage of each track on there. Instead, your release plan should be singles. Releasing singles as often as possible throughout a longer timeline means that you can engage a fan base with every single release. For example, if you had a 12-track album, you could release those tracks once every other month as singles. With each release, you'll be taking advantage of the Spotify algorithm. Spotify's algorithm is extremely clever, whereby if you release it, they'll test it with a few people to see what their reaction is. If the track's picked up well, you'll find it might get put on a Spotify official, it'll get put on more Discover Weeklies, and your streams will go rapidly. If you'd released that track as an EP, they would have just chosen one single off that EP, so the rest of the tracks would have been lost. Instead, if you're releasing those as singles, you can take advantage of the algorithm every single release. Quite often, artists will say they want to release the full album or EP as each track flows into the other and it tells the story. This is completely understandable because an album or an EP can tell a story so beautifully, but instead, you need to tell that story over a longer period of time. By telling that story over a longer period of time, you'll find that with every release, you can market it. And you can also push it to a new audience. By releasing all of these tracks over time, you'll find that your fan base grows gradually. And by the time you finally drop the full product, it'll be in demand and you'll have a fan base there already. Also, in this day and age, attention spans aren't as strong as what they used to be. People are so used to watching 30-second videos on Instagram or Facebook, or watching a YouTube video rather than a full TV show. So, to capture their attention, singles are the best way forward. Releasing these singles over time means that you've captured their attention and you've gained their trust. So by the time you drop the full album or EP, you have their trust and they'll listen to the full thing. You need to remember that as an emerging artist, these people don't know your music or your personality, so don't trust you yet. If you're releasing this full album and people don't know your music yet, they're not going to take their time out that day. But instead, a single's 3 to 4 minutes, and 3 to 4 minutes of someone's day is a lot less than a 12-track album. Now you know that your release strategy should be through singles. You need to focus on a timeline. As an artist in this day and age, your content is your music. This means that you need to be putting out as much content as possible. This doesn't mean that you need to be releasing tracks daily, but it does mean that you need to have a continuous release strategy in place, so your fans know that there's definitely more content coming. Although you've captured their attention for one single, if you're not releasing for another 6 to 8 months, they're not going to come back for more. Instead, you should be looking to release every other month, every 3 months, so that they know there's constant content coming their way. With each of these singles, you can promise them a full product at the end, whether that be an EP or an album. Spotify works in a way where if you release all these singles, you can then pass them over to the EP or the album when that's out, and it'll even carry the streams over with it. This means that you've already got all the streams through the singles that have taken advantage of the algorithm. So by the time the album's out, there may be a few tracks that you didn't release as singles that can then get attention. As I said earlier, video streaming is also such a strong way to start gaining new listeners. So your release strategy also needs to be focusing on this video content. If you're telling a story over time, you can really tell a story with your personalities and your journey too. You could film your whole journey from writing the track all the way to releasing it. So by the time it's out, people have seen your whole journey and trust you, and you have their attention, so they'll listen to it. What you need to remember with your release strategy is you need to stay as consistent as possible. This industry is extremely competitive. In 2014, Spotify stated that 20,000 tracks were being uploaded every month. It's now 2018, so this may have even tripled. You can't focus on releasing a track every 6 months, every year, because you'll get lost between all the other tracks. You need to be consistent, creating visual content and staying within your timeline. If your release strategy follows this pattern, you'll find that your fans will grow gradually, and by the time you have your full album or full EP, you'll be in demand. I hope you found this video useful, and if you have, give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions at all, feel free to comment and we'll answer them all. Thanks for watching.